Please join me in 3 recitations. Nam Mô A Di Đà Phật. Nam Mô A Di Đà Phật. Nam Mô A Di Đà Phật. You may release your palms. Today, we are going to take a look at an article titled, No One Attains Enlightenment in the Dharma Ending Age. And then we'll take a look at an eyewitness account. The title is very long, so I'm just going to give you the short one. It's a record of the badminton court nianfo ceremony for the departed. Now, time permits, we will take a look at another short article called Cultivating the Right Attitude for an Amitabha Buddha reciter. That's my plan. Let's see how far we can go. So without further ado, let's take a look at this first article. No one attains enlightenment in the Dharma Ending Age. While we find people who, if we judge them by words and deeds alone, none would remain flawless. If we could peer into their thoughts, judge people by what is visible to the world, and you will find saints among us. Judge them by what remains hidden, and we are all sinners. The first passage means that while a person's character might appear perfect based on their outward speech and behavior, no one's character could withstand scrutiny of their inner thoughts. This is because we restrain our words and actions since others can see and hear us, but our thoughts, hidden from view and unspoken, roam unchecked. The second passage means that, judging by what is visible to all, we might find sages among us, but judging by what remains unseen, all are transgressors. When what we say and do can be observed by others, we typically exercise caution in our words and actions, doing our best to display our best manners and social graces. However, in solitude or privacy, we often drop our guard. Away from watchful eyes, we might think or act in ways we normally wouldn't. The belief that no one knows what we are doing diminishes our moral compass and sense of shame. Let us use these words to examine ourselves. Are we not like this too? Outwardly, we follow precepts and practice virtue, but do our hearts truly match our words? In public view, we present our best selves, but in private moments, can we claim such perfection? Are we not, in truth, corrupted within? This is why ancient sages taught, of all virtues, filial piety stands first. Judge the heart, not deeds. Judged by deeds alone, there would be no filial child in all the world. Among all vices, lust ranks worst. Judge the deeds, not thoughts. Judged by thoughts alone, there would be no perfect person throughout time. Master Tanluan states in his commentary on the treatise on rebirth, the merits accruing from the wholesome actions of ordinary beings, as well as the karmic rewards of the human and heavenly states of existence, both the causes and consequences, are illusory and false. Hence, they are called untrue merits. In the Buddha's eyes, all practices and their resulting karma, whether observing the 5 precepts for human rebirth or practicing the 10 good actions, meditation, and 4 immeasurable minds for celestial rebirth, are ultimately illusory and false, not true merits. Consider the first of the 3 meritorious practices described in the Contemplation Sutra. Being filial to one's parents, respecting teachers and elders, having compassion and abstaining from killing, and cultivating the 10 good actions. These are basic moral principles that we should naturally follow in our daily lives. How then can they be considered illusory and false? This is because our good deeds are still contaminated by the 3 poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance, as we have not yet eliminated our afflictions. The Buddha called these flawed virtues, while Master Shandao termed them poisoned practices. They are not true virtues, not meritorious. Therefore, as long as we remain trapped in the 6 realms of samsara, whether we practice the 5 precepts for human rebirth or the 10 good actions for ascending to the celestial realm, these remain flawed virtues. In fact, we can barely uphold the 5 precepts, let alone practice the 10 good actions. The World Honor One says, in a single day, a person generates 840 million thoughts, and each of these thoughts create karma leading to the 3 wretched realms. Every day, our minds produce countless thoughts, which are metaphorically said to number 840 million, and each thought creates courses that lead us towards rebirth in the 3 wretched realms. The Ksitagarbha Sutra, also known as Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra, also states, every action and thought of beings in Jambudvipa, that is the human world, creates karma and wrongdoing. How much more so when they freely indulge in killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and committing countless offenses. When we use these teachings as a mirror to examine our actions of body, speech, and mind, we realize that even our wish to practice the Dharma is futile, and our very motivation to cultivate is itself deluded. With this realization, we are driven to ask, which of the 84,000 Dharma teachings can truly lead us to liberation? Only when we reach the end of our theta do we discover that Amitabha Buddha's compassionate deliverance is the only Dharma path that can bring light at the end of the tunnel and hope in place of despair. Indeed, Amitabha's proactive, universal, and unconditional salvation is a final hope, not only for practitioners like us, but for all sentient beings. Okay, so now we'll take a look at eyewitness accounts. It's translated from Chinese. The whole title is A Non-Buddhist Onlooker Witnesses the Deceased Ascending on a Lotus. And subtitle is Record of the Badminton Court Nianfo Ceremony for the Departed. Nianfo, we all know, is a Buddha name chanting, right? On December 2nd, 2024, the Pure Land Center in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, received an unexpected request from Mr. Fo Ying. He wished to invite Venerable Jingben to conduct a Buddhist memorial service for a deceased neighbor, Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang had passed away suddenly from a heart attack while playing badminton at the age of 60. Hearing that Mr. Fo Ying often participates in Nianfo sessions at the center, the Dang family asked him to request an on-site ceremony. Following the usual protocol, volunteers from the center first gathered basic information, such as whether the wake was at home or at a funeral parlor, along with possible dates. They were surprised when Mr. Fo Ying replied, "Actually, Mr. Deng passed away 2 weeks ago, and the funeral is already over." Venerable Jing then asked, "Since the funeral is over, do you want us to perform the service at home, or would you like to come to the center?" To everyone's surprise, Mr. Fo Ying responded, "Neither. We would like you to conduct the ceremony at the badminton court when Mr. Dang passed away." All were curious. At the at the badminton court, there is no casket, no mourning hall, and no Buddha statue there. How can we hold the ceremony? Mr. Fo Ying explained that the Zhang family believed Mr. Zhang's spirit was still wandering in the badminton court, unable to find release. They hoped Venerable Jingben could go there to help guide him. Initially, the master hesitated. "We have never held such a service at a badminton court. If there are people playing and it is noisy, how could we proceed?" However, the family was insistent and assured the master, "We have already reserved the entire court and made arrangements with the manager. There won't be any problem." Seeing the family's sincere request and empathizing with their grief over the sudden passing, Venerable Jingben agreed to conduct the ceremony. He and a few volunteers arrived at the badminton court with a portable standing statue of Amitabha Buddha. They set up a simple altar with a few chairs for the family, and thus began a modest yet solemn Nianfo ceremony for the departed. During the circumambulation and chanting, a woman of Sikh heritage walked in and sat to one side. She was an employee managing the venue. Around her neck hung a cross, suggesting a Christian background. Surprisingly, she seemed to be mouthing along with the chant of Namo Amitabha Buddha. As everyone was focused on chanting, they didn't inquire further. They only noticed that she kept gazing upward as if she saw something in a particular direction. After the ceremony, Venerable Jingben encouraged the family to dedicate as much chanting as possible during the 49 days following Mr. Zhang's passing. The family mentioned they had dabbled in various Buddhist practices. The Venerable advised, "If you genuinely wish your father to be reborn in the Western Pure Land, it's most reliable to chant Namo Amitabha Buddha exclusively." Concerned, the family asked, "Master, how will we know if our father has truly been reborn in the Pure Land? Do we have to wait for him to appear in our dreams?" Venerable Jingben replied, "Seeing him in a dream depends on conditions. Some people do have dreams, but not everyone. Just keep chanting and then trust everything to Amitabha Buddha. There is no need to cling too tightly to such signs. No sooner had he finished speaking than a fellow practitioner said, "Venerable Master, that Sikh lady would like to speak to you." It turned out the lady wanted to share something with the master and everyone present in English. "Excuse me, I hope I'm not interrupting. I knew Mr. Zhang, the man who died here. Ever since he passed away, I have felt like his presence remained in the badminton court. When I came in just now, I saw him pacing around in the corner." She continued, "But when you started chanting and walking around the court, I saw him suddenly radiate a brilliant purple golden light. A giant lotus appeared under his feet. He smiled at me, then vanished. Someone asked, 'Could you tell which direction he went?' She answered, 'It was towards the west where the sun sets.' Of course, I don't really know what that means." Moments earlier, Venerable Jingben had reminded the family not to become overly attached to the idea of seeing or dreaming of the departed. Yet here was an immediate testimony, unexpectedly from someone outside the Buddhist faith, someone who didn't speak Chinese or know about Amitabha. She had personally witnessed Mr. Zhang's transformation into a golden body, standing on a lotus and heading west. This left the family and fellow practitioners both astonished and comforted. A practitioner who had traveled a long way exclaimed, "I have read similar accounts in stories of auspicious passing, but this is the first time I have heard it firsthand from a non-Buddhist." Venerable Jingben simply responded with calm gratitude. "All we did was leading the chanting as we normally do, without seeking any particular manifestation. Yet the compassionate power of Amitabha Buddha can be truly inconceivable." He later offered this reflection: "Even what seems like ordinary chanting is imbued with the boundless light and guiding power of Amitabha Buddha. As great Master Shandao said, other practices, though they may be called good, cannot be compared to Nianfo. Likewise, Master Yin Guang also said, of all forms of Buddhist practice, Nianfo carries the greatest merit. Simply recite Namo Amitabha Buddha, and one will surely receive the Buddha's empowering grace." We are fortunate, we are profoundly grateful for Amitabha Buddha's compassionate guidance. Now, Venerable Jingben wrote a note about this incident, and this is what he wrote. "Simple chanting can transcend the departed. A non-Buddhist sees him rise on a lotus. Sudden death need not be a hindrance. Just chant, and Buddha will come." This eyewitness account was recorded by the editorial department of Malaysia Pure Land Center in Kuala Lumpur in February 10, 2025. So it's very, very, very recent. Now, we are coming very close to the time, so I think I'm going to pass on the cultivating the right attitude for an Amitabha Buddha reciter. We'll look at this one the next time we meet. So please join palms and do 3 recitations with me. Namo Ami Tofo. 南无阿弥陀佛。南无阿弥陀佛. We will now continue our Amitabha recitation.
Is the Q&A session. All attendees are welcome to join. Householder Fo Qi will host this session. 南无阿弥陀佛。
南无阿弥陀佛. Today we have one question that bring up by one Buddhist friend. He asked, from a Chinese Pure Land perspective, how can I best deal with the many political and economic crises occurring daily in the United States and throughout the world? Should I be politically and socially engaged out of compassion for those who are suffering? Or should I focus on getting myself to the Pure Land by exclusively reciting Name for in order to become a Buddha or a Bodhisattva for the sake of all sentient beings without engaging in any political or social activities? What is the most skillful and wise course of action to follow during these challenging times? Master Jingtung will give her response.
That is a good question, and it's a difficult question to answer. But first, I believe that preparing ourselves with exclusive recitation so that we can go to the land of bliss, and getting active in social activities is not mutually exclusive, or may not be mutually exclusive. It depends on how you do that, right? We are living in this world, so you're not in the Pure Land yet. So you still have to eat, you still have to go to work, you still have a family. So you can't just put everything aside and then go up to the mountain and then do your recitation, right? So that's part of the reality. So we have to do it within our ability. Now, so I'm going to try to base my answer on a couple of articles where some points I find relevant to your question. I hope that they will help to answer your question. So let's take a look at something that Master Huijing said. There is a passage or very short article called "Life is but a Dream." So here it goes. The Buddha taught us that life is both a dream and filled with suffering. In this life of dreams and suffering, those who find themselves in Amitabha's embrace and experience his compassionate deliverance are truly blessed. Dreams don't just happen when we are asleep. We are living in one right now. Samsara itself is one endless dream. That's why we shouldn't become despondent during hard times or overly elated during good times. After all, this whole life is just a transient dream we haven't woken up from. As Buddhists, we need to understand that everything arises from countless interconnected factors. Nothing happens by itself or has any permanent essence. It's all illusory and temporary. The ups and downs of life, our fortunes and misfortunes, they all have their reasons for appearing in our lives. But they're just passing moments, neither everlasting nor unchanging. That's why we should take life as it comes and not take things too seriously. As ordinary beings, we are all caught up in greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt. We each carry our own burdens and attachments. We struggle to truly understand, forgive, and care for one another. we find it hard to open ourselves up completely. Even with our closest relationships, such as our spouses and children, no matter how loving and devoted we all are, and no matter how much time we spend together, deep down, we remain alone. As a Taiwanese saying goes, who truly knows what lies in another's heart? Even the most loving couples struggle to share their deepest torments and secrets. As the Infinite Life Sutra says, in this world of desires and attachments, we are born alone and die alone, coming and going all alone. What is life really like? We are like cattle being led to market, each step taking us closer to death. And even the rich and powerful cannot escape King Yama's final judgment. In the same sutra, it says, when life draws it to its close, we are overcome by fear and regret. We wonder, does life continue after death or simply end? If it continues, are we headed towards suffering or peace? This uncertainty breeds anxiety, and ultimately, all our unwholesome actions, suffering, and fear stem from ignorance, and ignorance leads to negative karma, which leads to suffering. It is ignorance that keeps us unsettled. So we all know that we are Amitabha reciters, and we exclusively recite Amitabha's name. Based on the 18th vow, we are guaranteed by Amitabha Buddha that he will come and receive us to the land of bliss. So all we have to do is to live this transient life for as long as we have on this planet Earth. Some may have 30, 40 years, some may have 10 years, some may have less, we know, right? But we know that this is not our home. Our home is in the land of bliss. So we are spending our lifetime here, just moving along with things, doing our best, and sharing with people the unconditional love of Amitabha Buddha and his unconditional deliverance. Okay, and if during our social activities that we can do this, by all means, do it. Political activities may be a little different because there are two things that really tear people apart, even families and even spouses apart. Politics and religion are two topics that really can very easily tear people apart. So, if we understand that nothing is an accident, everything came to fruition because this is what's meant to happen during this time that we're here. So all we can do actually is to entrust Amitabha Buddha to deal with it. And in the meantime, we do our recitation and transfer the merit to all those situations, environments, and people who got caught in these situations. So how do we deal with adversity according to the Buddha's wisdom? Okay, we talk about this is a turmoil. There's lots of issues in the world now, politically and socially, in the States as well as in the world, right? In Canada as well, right? So how should people deal with adversity according to the Buddha's wisdom? The Buddhist approach is different from the approach of ordinary people. The latter, that is the people, when encountering hardships and dangers, usually try to run away from the situation, or they bulldoze through it blindly, or they get angry and bitter. This is a general reaction of ordinary people. However, according to the teachings of the Buddha, if you encounter adversity or a perilous situation, you should know that this is simply the consequence of your past karma ripening now. In this way, you will be able to face the problem with equanimity, accepting that This is what you deserve. With every cause must come an effect, and there is no effect without a cause, which invariably is your own doing. I like to repeat this one. According to the teachings of the Buddha, if you encounter adversity or a perilous situation, you should know that this is simply the consequence of your past karma ripening now. So, how do we deal with it? The first thing to learn is to grin and bear it. Second, we should reflect on our own behavior. The current difficult and depressing situation can be improved by changing the way we think and how we conduct ourselves. We should start accruing merits and virtues as well. By reciting Amitabha's name and transferring the merits to the situation and to the people involved, we change the energy field, right? And we are doing something. And at the same time, we accrue merits and virtues, which will change our condition. Third, do not resist or harbor hatred. This is the other side of the same coin of self-reflection. That is, we should not deny the present state of affairs or resent anyone or the plight we are in. Accept that this is our own karma. As the saying goes, be a man and face the music. If you refuse to accept responsibility for the consequences of your past actions, you are not a decent person. Instead, you are just cheating and not playing fair. And this is unacceptable. There is a Buddhist saying, sentient beings fear the consequences while bodhisattvas fear the causes. Bodhisattvas realize that evil causes will lead to very bad karmic consequences. Therefore, they are prudent about their actions and take measures to guard against bad deeds. On the other hand, sentient beings misbehave all the time, and yet, when facing retribution, they panic and place the blame on fate and others, bemoaning, how could this happen to me? If we understand that everything is our own doing, we must act responsibly when retribution comes. That is, be a man and face the music. You must bear the consequences of your own actions, no matter how difficult or seemingly impossible it is to do so. If you made a wine that has turned bitter, you must drink it in order to suffer less. If you try to fight a very strong wind stubbornly, you will get knocked off your feet and get hurt. Rather, be like the yielding blades of grass, bending away from the wind, accepting, tolerating the force of the gale. This is the essence of grin and bear it, an attitude of resigning to adversity, is it not? The expression grin and bear it or resigning to adversity is full of wisdom. What should you do if a headwind is coming? Go along in the direction of the wind. For example, if the wind blows to the east, we should go east as well, gently falling down to let the wind pass. This is meant by grinning and bearing it. Just like practicing Tai Chi Chuan, the opposite force will be weakened, absorbed, and diffused. I would say resigning to and accepting adversity is a life skill that everyone must learn. It is a rule of thumb in life. However, some people don't understand this philosophy. They would say, you're such a nice guy. Why should you simply accept something bad without putting up a fight? You are spineless. That's a Chinese expression, is spineless. Well, try to resist or resent a karmic retribution, and you will see what happens. The chances are you will end up badly hurt, which benefits no one. Well, you may ask, what exactly am I bearing up to and accepting? You are bearing up to and accepting the causes created by yourself and the circumstances under which the effects are manifesting. I repeat this one. You are bearing up to and accepting the causes created by yourself and the circumstances under which the effects are manifesting. This benefits everyone and has the lowest cost. If resistance and aggression arise in your mind and you decide to fight and defy the other party, then he will also be confrontational. On a larger scale, this could create discord in society. The important thing to remember is not to harbor hatred, for it only pains yourself, like a knife stabbing deeper and deeper into your heart. You can, of course, seek help, such as from people who are in a position to influence events, or by resorting to legal means, or trying conciliation. However, whilst taking such action, accept your responsibilities and do not become angry with others. This is not easy to do, but it is beneficial to all. There is, of course, an important fallback to practice Amitabha recitation. When all else fails, recite Amitabha's name as if your life depends on it. Will it work? Absolutely. There is a saying that goes, even if you don't do it for the sake of the monks, do it for the sake of the Buddha. The Buddha is the loving father of sentient beings, of the foremost of birth, and the teacher of the 9 Dharma realms. No matter what animosity there is between us and others, be they in this world or in any of the 6 realms, the more we recite Amitabha's name, the more our karmic hindrances will be eliminated and our merits and blessings multiplied. The difficult situation will be gradually resolved. This is a fundamental law. There are a multitude of challenges in life, dangers, setbacks, declines, distortions, pains, etc. And so it is all the more important that we have the correct outlook of life, values, and the world. Try thinking like this. This is my own karma, so I have no one else to blame. I will wholeheartedly seek rebirth in the Western land of ultimate bliss, forever freeing myself from the suffering of this world. Then, as a Buddha, I vow to return to this world to save others. In this way, as the saying goes, heroes are forged in adversity. This means that difficulties can strengthen our resolve to practice the Dharma. Therefore, no matter how challenging or trying the situations that we are facing, they serve as good, favorable conditions for spiritual cultivation, such as reciting Amitabha's name in order to gain rebirth. It is like giving the rocket the right fuel for launching into space. We turn everything negative and unfavorable to our advantage. It's just like the lotus flowers blossoming out of murky water, yet remaining pristine and emitting a wonderful fragrance. Our various sufferings and afflictions in the Saha world become the motivational force for us to recite Amitabha's name, and therefore the source of our rebirth in the land of ultimate bliss, just as the muddy pond is to the lotus flower, which does not get contaminated. Now, this is our personal karma, right? So there is something called the collective karma as well, right? So, for example, a plane incident, or maybe the Titanic, or any accidents where lots of lives are taken. This is a collective karma, right? We each have our own karma, and there's a collective karma. When we recite Amitabha's name, it changes our karma. It changes our personal karma, right? So you might originally be in this collective karma where you get caught in the accident, but because you are Amitabha-reciter and the merits and the virtues that you accrued from reciting Amitabha's name, it changes your personal karma, right? It made improvement. So instead of being in that pool of the collective karma accident, you either missed the plane or for some reason you didn't get on board. Okay, and then you were not in that accident. So we have heard people mention that before, right? So remember, there is the personal karma and there is a collective karma, right? So we cannot change other people's karma, but we can recite Amitabha's name to change our own. But at the same time, we can transfer the merits to those out there so that they too can benefit from our recitation, right? I hope this answers your question. There is, I know you mentioned political activities. Back in the 50s and mid-50s or the 20th century and into the 21st century, there is something, a Buddhist, a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, coined the phrase engaged Buddhism. What engaged Buddhism is that they are trying to merge the Buddhist concepts and get involved in political as well as social activities, but not forsaking the Buddhist teachings. So if we understand that we are part of the course of what is happening right now, and the collective karma is also part of what is happening right now. So what can we do to change it, right? By shouting, we need changes, is not going to help. Quantum physics will tell you that when people who protest, when they yell in anger, it creates a very negative resonance, very negative energy field. And that's not going to help anything, right? So, but when we recite Amitabha's name and transfer these merits out to these situations and these people, 100% effect will result. Okay? If we do it, don't know how many percent of what we do, if we go out and then, raise a sign and say, oh, we want, down with something, down with this person, not going to do much good. Okay. So I really believe that by reciting Amitabha's name and daily, to the best of our capability, to the best of our ability, and transfer the merits to others. At the same time, if we get involved in social activities, try to let people hear about Amitabha's unconditional salvation and this easy path. I hope that answers your question.
So if we don't have any further question, can I call the meeting into conclusion now? Namo Amitabha. Thank you very
Namo
much.
Namo
Amitabha.
Amitabha.
Thank you
Namo
all.
Amitabha.
Namo Amitabha.
Namo Amitabha. Thank you.
Namo Amitabha.